When my chickens ate all of my entire onion tray, it looked like a lawnmower that just kind of took all the tops off of my onions. It could possibly grow up again and just grow into, like, continue growing, but I'm not going to be taking chances like that. So that means I'm going to be growing more onions in the same spot. Yeah, because chickens. What's going on, my plant peoples? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and of humor, of course, as a form of horticultural therapy for our mental health, ADHD life skills, and sobriety. And you'd be surprised how much you can learn about ourselves through our garden. And I'm here to talk about onions because those onions are super hard to grow. And if you've had problems growing onions, drop that comment down below and let me know about your struggles. But I figured it out, so I'm going to share all my secrets for you. For the ones who don't want to stick around for the video, you're going to need humidity and moisture. There you go. Humidity, moisture, and light. Sounds simple, right? Humidity, moisture, and a little bit of light source. But of course, there's a bunch of little details inside of it, so you got to stick around for the rest of the video. But if you don't want to stay, here you are. When is the right time to be planting onions? Now, if you look at your planner, your almanac, your planting date schedule, this one says to be starting outside around April. Onions take incredibly long and really, can I stress, really long time to grow. That is why you have onions available in seeds and also the sets. You have onion seeds and you have onion sets. Onion seeds take incredibly a long time to grow. So if you're trying to grow them from seed, you're gonna need to start when it's like, late February into March. And especially if we're in March now, you gotta start growing them now from seed. They take so long. The sets, on the other hand, those are already started. They take less time because they're already established, but they do take a little time to get out of that dormancy because they are dry. But those are a head start. These are the ones that you're going to be planting outside when it comes to your planter or like your planting schedule. This is what they're talking about. That's what I'm assuming. But when it comes to the planting time, if you're growing from seed, those established ones are going to be growing outside like that. This is where it gets complicated because they need at least a month and a half head start, and that's what we're going to be doing inside.
Alright, onions take at least 2 months ahead of time before you even consider planting them outside. I have planted them outside when they're still incredibly tiny, but it usually does not work out that well because the plant is not strong enough to withstand outside.
Some seeds just really do a lot better when it comes to germinating if you have a heat mat. It offers that extra little heat boost that those seeds would need when it comes to germinating. A lot of those seeds germinate in 75, 85 degree weather, and being that that's not outside right now, we're gonna have to offer that same type of temperature with the heat mat. Get yourself a high quality seed starting mix and fill up your seed trays. I make my own mix, so I just filled it up with my own stuff. Once you filled it up, drop a bunch of seeds inside of each little cell. Remember, you don't want one. For onions, you don't even want two. You need a bunch of them inside of each different cell. Trust me, it'll work out. Once those onions start growing up, then it'll be a lot easier to just separate them because they're just really easy to separate, once they start growing up. So trust me, you can just put a bunch of seeds in there. Next thing you're gonna need is a humidity dome. Now you can have or buy one of those if you have it for your seed tray. It just needs something to capture that humidity. If you don't have a seed dome or something like that, it's okay. You can use saran wrap. Saran wrap is my go-to to trap in the humidity. I just lay the saran wrap on top. I'm not going crazy. I'm not putting pressure on that saran wrap. I'm letting it breathe. This is a great example of what it starts to look like if you do not let your seedlings or your soil breathe when you have a dome or plastic over it. You'll start to develop a lot of this, and that is just the beginning. So if you tackle that right now, you'll be okay. But once it starts getting worse, then you got a little bit of an issue. Once you start seeing onions popping up and germinating like this, you will no longer need the heat mat. I repeat, you will no longer need the heat mat. So once all of your seedlings are germinated, you do not need that. Once your seedlings have germinated and you still have the heat mat, that can potentially ruin those roots and it can harm the plant and the seedling. So do not, unplug this heat mat once you're done. After you put the seeds in there, just cover it up, and now it's about moisture. You're gonna wanna really saturate that soil. You don't want it soggy, and remember, too much sogginess is gonna lead to a lot of mold, and you don't want that. But you do want some decent amount of moisture. Then you're gonna put the saran wrap with the heat mat and let it go. It's gonna start sprouting within like 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. This is about patience. Onions are not easy to grow. All right. Ooh, turns out some of them are sprouting. This is wonderful. At some point, this may happen to you where some of them will sprout and some of them will not. I don't know if that has to do with the germination rate of those particular seed brands that you bought, or is it because of us? It's all right though, because when in doubt, we can always just plant more seeds and then just make up for it. That's all. Now, leeks are part of the onion family. I'll drop some information right over here. Now, the leeks grow and you germinate them the same way as you do onions. The same way. So when you're growing leeks, you're going to treat it like an onion. All right? If you're growing onions, treat them like leeks. They literally germinate and grow and they need the same environment. So if you're going to be growing onions, you can grow leeks the same way. Notice how stringy that they are. This is the same way that the onions are going to grow. So if you can check these out, this is how they're going to grow. These are not strong enough to transplant outside because they're just considered seedlings. Some of the the external seed pods are still on some of these onions, or leeks I should say. Eventually, as they grow a lot bigger and they grow a lot stronger, they can go outside. But if you think about it, onions like the cool weather. So if I was to put these leeks right now outside in my greenhouse, they'd be just fine. Depending on where you live, if you got like 25, 28 degree weather at night, I would not put them outside. I haven't put them outside. That's why they're still in here. But once I start getting at least above freezing level at nighttime, then these onions are going to be going outside. Onion sets. Oh, I love them so much. Now, once you get these onion sets, they are already established, but they're definitely in the dormant phase, so we got to wake them up. I love onions and I grow them all the time. Every year I try to grow them, but I usually grow them from sets. Now, sometimes the sets do not get as big as you would anticipate, but then again, it depends on the variety of onions. When you get your onion sets, they're going to be in a breathable bag because obviously they're living. When you open up the bag, you may encounter a bunch of onions that have already started sprouting. That's telling us that it is time to start planting them now. Now, it is cold outside. If you are above freezing weather, like if you are 32 degrees at night, then you can directly sow them outside. That's what I've heard everybody do. Everyone grows them and sows them directly outside in their garden beds, but I'm assuming that it would have to be above freezing point at night. I think though you can directly sow them outside if your soil is workable right now. But for now, I'm going to be growing them in my little jugs, my milk jugs. Now, those can go outside because they're a little domed out. See, check this one out. This one has already sprouted. So this one needs to get planted ASAP. You see how small it is? But it will grow up and it will get bigger. But look at that. It definitely has a head start already. I love my milk jugs. These are super awesome because if you don't have space inside, just like I don't, I'm going to be sprouting a bunch of these onions inside of here and then dome it out and leave it outside. The same thing applies. Once these onions start growing up and they get a little bit bigger, you could just transplant them out. I would not suggest transplanting them a bunch of different times. So if you're going to be growing them in here, then transplant them one time outside. Try not to be transplanting them over and over and over again because you're going to be shocking the onion. You're going to be shocking any plant. When you're planting your seed bulbs inside of whatever grow medium, whether you be outside in your garden bed or inside a container, make sure that soil is really, really loose because you're going to be pushing down these little seed bulbs inside of the soil. Now, I would suggest down and twist. That's just going to kind of make that drilling motion where you can just kind of get into the soil a lot easier. So down and twist all the way down. Next thing you know, you'll have a little onion sprout right there. This is not deep enough. See this? Not deep enough. I want to be putting it really further down where it's like this, where you can't even see it. Now we cover it up. Make sure you water because again, in order to get everything out of dormancy and or to germinate, you're going to need a lot of moisture. But don't overdo it because that ain't going to help at all and then you're going to have root rot. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some good information out of this. Let me know down in the comments below. Drop a comment. Have you grown onions before? Do you have a hard time growing onions? And how much patience do we have to have in order to grow onions all over again for the second time because your chickens ate them all? Yo, no lie, if you've been on my live stream and also on my TikTok, I have that chicken story about how those chickens ate all of my seedlings. So you can check out that story over there. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some good information out of it. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you grown some leeks? Have you grown some onions? What are your trials and tribulations with it? And how much patience do we have to have when it comes to growing them, especially when you have to grow them for the second time because your chickens wiped you out the first? If you did enjoy it, don't forget to smash that like button. Also, you can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. TikTok is all about my ADHD discovery journey, learning more about ADHD and also learning about addiction, trauma, and all that fun stuff. Also, Facebook is just kind of like my everyday thing. I kind of like and post whatever comes to me. Funny, whatever plans or something is going on in my life. Until the next episode, you guys, where you and me both going to be growing our happiness one plant at a time, one day at a time. I'll catch y'all later in the next episode. Peace and love.